How's it going? My name is John with Blackbird Productions and welcome back to another video. For today's video, I wanted to do something slightly different, and today we're actually going to be doing a tier list for Model 3 performance competitors for the 2024 model year. But before we get into that, I have two quick things I wanted to run through. The first thing is I have a Patreon that I just recently created, and I think it would be awesome if you can support me. I'm actually jobless and
maidenless,
but you could support me in the link in the description below. Second quick thing is a disclaimer. I predict there might be some heated debates in the comments over why I made the choices that I made during this tier list video, but these are based on my opinions and my experiences with these various car brands. So if there's a car that I missed, or maybe something that you don't necessarily agree with, definitely let me know in the comment section below. If it's something valid and it doesn't come off as blatantly rude, then I'll respond. If not, I'll probably read it, but I probably won't respond just because I won't have anything to say. So with that, let's get into today's video. So the first car on our list is of course the outgoing Model 3 Performance. And I have some notes here on my iPad, so you'll periodically see me just peer over to look at these notes or just grab the iPad altogether. But essentially, the Model 3 Performance, the outgoing model that is, can be found within the $30K price range. And you can't go wrong with this model because it has 450 horses, 471 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 of 3.1 seconds. It also has 315 miles of range, which is pretty cool. I also like the wheels for this model as well. They call them Uber Turbine. I'm sure I'm butchering that, but they're 20-inch rims and they look a lot better than the ones that we're given on the 2024 Model 3 Performance, in my opinion. The cons around this one is the quality isn't always 100% with Tesla in general, at least up until this model year. That might change in the 2025 or 2026 model year for these cars, but the quality, especially on the earlier models of the Model 3 in general, aren't really that good. I also read in my research for this car, the ride is much stiffer and it's a little bit more noisier in the inside than this model year for the 2024 model year for the Model 3 Performance. So I think I'm going to place this in B tier for now. And we might revisit that one. The next one is the 2022 Audi e-tron GT. This one, depreciation hit pretty hard, and as a result, the used market has some pretty great deals on this one. And I feel like that's a theme across this tier list. I tried to find both new and used cars that would be much more comparable to a Model 3 Performance of today's price, being in 2024, of course. So pros on this one: distinctive styling, 469 horses with an overboost function that temporarily increases power to 522 horses, and 522 horses and 464 pound-feet of torque. With this overboost function, it gives you a 0 to 60 time of 3.6 seconds and 4.1 seconds standard. It's got DC fast charging, 5% to 80% in 20 minutes, which is pretty cool. And you can find a slightly used model for 50 to 60K, which is pretty nice because when this car came out brand new, it was definitely over 100 grand, which was not too long ago. So drawbacks around this car: range isn't the best. It makes 238 miles of range. The other thing is that the rear seating room isn't the best either, just because it is more of a sporty coupe style sedan. So those are two things you should probably consider if you're looking at this car. For the Audi e-tron, I'm thinking this could stay in A tier, just because it has a pretty balanced blend of both technology and quality, which is two things I didn't really talk about in this car just because it's kind of a given with Audi. They're definitely not on the level of technology as Tesla, but but it's a nice blend of everything in this car. You get a little bit of everything with this car. Styling, distinctive, quality, pretty good, just because Audi's been around for a little while now, so they know what quality looks like and how to make a quality car. So for those reasons, I'm gonna put this car in A tier, for now at least. Next one is the Polestar 2. And this was actually one that I was shopping around when I was looking at purchasing my new Model 3 Performance. Pricing is very generous, especially on the used market for these, specifically the 2022 to 2021 model year. And they can be found for under $30,000. Newer Polestar 2s can be found within the $50K range, which is pretty comparable to a new Model 3 Performance. The interior is super clean on this car, and it's minimal, which is something that a future Tesla owner might appreciate. The newer models get up to 455 horses and 546 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of up to 4 seconds, depending on the trim. And even if you change trims with this car, the power really isn't that significant of a jump. So essentially what I'm saying is the power is comparable between the trims. The other thing is range. This thing gets 320 miles of range on the EPA estimate, and then it also takes 28 minutes to charge fully, which is not that bad. The only con that I have about this car is the styling is very subdued and it's streamlined across all of the Polestar models, which doesn't necessarily make this car stand out. And it just looks like every other sedan out there to me, which is one of the reasons why I didn't purchase it over the Model 3. So for the Polestar 2, I'm gonna rank this in B tier for now. Next is the BMW i4 Gran Coupe M50. I think the BMW i4 is a great competitor to the new Model 3 Performance, and I almost hate myself for saying this because it's kind of a layup for them just because they already had the platform built out and they just made it into an EV. So this car shares the same platform as other BMW models. So they essentially just converted a gas car into electric, which in a way I feel like is kind of cheating, but BMW did do a great job with this car. Some of the highlights: this thing can be bought slightly used within the 30 to 40K range for the 2023 model year. This thing makes amazing power. 536 horses, 586 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 of 3.7 seconds, which is pretty good. Although range is modest, it's 271 miles, which is modest but not too far off from the Model 3 Performance. Interior quality is solid and the technology is solid. If you've ever driven a modern BMW, you're getting the same experience here, nothing less, which is amazing to see across the line with BMWs in general. Cons: controversial design. No one really likes the new kidney grills. They're slowly starting to phase those away with their newer models, but a newer model i4 is almost 80 grand, which I think is way overpriced. So that is something that you're getting into with these older models. They do have the older kidney style grille, and and they're just big and ugly, and no one really likes them. The other thing is that this car weighs 5 tons because it is technically a full-size sedan, and it's a pretty large car. So for the i4, I think I'm gonna put that in B tier for now. The next car on our list is the Tesla Model S, specifically the 2021 and 2022 model years. I think the Model 3 is pretty awesome if you want 2024 Model 3 Performance speed, but with more range. Some of the pros around this car: a slightly used one can be bought in the high 50K range to low 60K range, putting it around the same price as a new Model 3 Performance today, because out of the door, my Model 3 Performance was around 54, 55K, just for comparison. Range is outstanding in this car. It has an EPA estimated range of 401 miles on a single charge. Power, I don't really have to say much about that. 670 horses and 713 pound-feet of torque, as well as a 0 to 60 time of 3.1 seconds, which is very nice. Cons about the Model S, again, Tesla quality issues, especially if you go later down the years with Teslas. Quality just isn't 100% on these. So you have to do your due diligence as you're shopping around these and bring that checklist along with you, which I will link in the description below. Second thing is the design. A lot of people say that the design of the Model S is a very tired design. They haven't really changed much about the design of this car. And to me, it looks rather dull and uninspiring, and it looks very corporate-y. It doesn't really look as fun as the Model 3 or even the Model Y. It just looks very plain to me, in my opinion. So, where does the Model S rank in our tier list? This one is a tough one because it has pretty much everything you'd ever need. The only thing that's holding it back is quality and styling. So for now, I'm going to put this in A tier. The next car on our list is a Lucid Air, which I have not personally driven, but I have seen and I've done a lot of research on this car. Lucid is a very interesting brand. Since it first announced the Lucid Air, this car depreciated into practically nothing, and you can buy one today at more than half of its value. Some of the pros: this car is the highest ranked car in terms of mileage in our list. It makes 512 miles on a single charge. The other thing is the Lucid Air can be bought slightly used in the low 60K range right now. The interior on this thing is on another level. And I personally like the minimalist aesthetic that they've chosen for this interior, as well as the wood accents that really bring out the interior of this car. It's super cool. Technology is elegantly laid out in this car, and it's not overbearing, and you can even hide the infotainment touchscreen with a single button. No other automaker is doing that, at least in the North American region, which I think is pretty cool. Power, again, I don't think I have to say much about this, but in terms of power, this thing's making 819 horses and 885 foot-pounds of torque. It goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. The only drawback that I found on this car is the software issues, and it usually plagued the earlier models in the earlier model years. And as far as I know, they've addressed all of those software issues and their ongoing effort to improve the car's software. And I think those things will get better over time, just as Tesla progressed in their software over time across their vehicle lineup. So, for the Lucid Air, this one's pretty much a layup. I think this one belongs in S tier. Our last vehicle is the Porsche Taycan. I think the Porsche Taycan is a masterclass between performance and practicality. Being a previous Porsche owner myself, I know what Porsche quality is like, and this definitely doesn't skimp out on that. Some of the pros: it makes 469 horses and 263 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty generous. Power isn't really the best on this car compared to other cars in this list, but 0 to 60 is 5.1 seconds, which is very, very modest compared to every other car on this list. On top of that, the 469 horsepower that I just mentioned is with a performance battery upgrade. Same goes for the range on this car. It's 282 miles of range with the performance battery upgrade, which is decent. And again, of course, you get the Porsche level quality as part of owning this car. The other thing is this car has distinctive and unique styling when it comes to the build quality as well as the color options for this car. This is probably one of the most colorful cars on this list, and I've seen this car in the wild in different colors, and the colors are just always eye-catching and head-turning. Cons, this has, based on my research for this video, this has less than desired infotainment. It has not very many dials or knobs, and the user experience for the touchscreen, at least for the infotainment, isn't the best. The other thing is power is lacking, and it's clearly reserved for the higher trims like the Taycan 4S, Turbo, and Turbo S, which come at a much higher cost. But if you're looking for a EV Porsche, I think this is hands down a decent choice. So, for the Porsche Taycan, I am going to put that in A tier. So, let's see what we got here. So we've got Lucid Air in S tier. We've got the Audi e-tron Model S and Taycan in A tier. And B tier, we've got the old Model 3 Performance, the outgoing model. We've got Polestar 2, and then we've got the Grand Coupe from BMW. I think I'm happy with this. I think one thing that I will do though is I'm going to place the e-tron in S tier, because I think that car, the styling alone should scream S tier. Paired with the quality, it's kind of a no-brainer to put that in S tier. I'm thinking, I don't think anything would belong in C tier. If anything, if I were to put something in C tier, it would probably be the outgoing Model 3 Performance. But I think it's good enough to be in B tier, despite its pitfalls, which eventually just improved the next model year. I mean, I think it's good where it is. I'm happy with this list. Yeah. So that is the video. If you enjoyed this type of content, feel free to just leave a quick like and consider subscribing. I create 2 Tesla videos per week, and I have a plethora of other content coming very soon. I'm also working on my next car review, which is gonna be insane. Like, you guys are gonna love this, and I can't wait to share it. So this has been John with Blackbird Productions, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.